Alright, another draft physics, draft science here on YouTube. Video presentation. So, one of the trolls, Falwell, I believe, left this link on the bro video. As if it proves, hey, look, the bowling thing, it proves it. And it's just so funny because what this proves is just how destructive to reality bullshit is. And this physics is absolute bullshit. There's just no way to defend it. On this one subject alone, an honest man should say, I have good reason to doubt the physics. There's very good reason to doubt the physics is correct because there's no evidence that the outcome, the prediction, is anywhere close to the truth. The prediction that you can knock over more pins with a lighter bowling ball. A lot more pins. It's not a little bit of energy, right? If a 16-pound ball knocks over 100 pins, an 8-pound ball knocks over 200 pins. A 10-pound ball knocks over 175. An extra 75 pins if you just go to 10 pounds. You go to 12 pounds, you get an extra 50 pins. 50. An extra 50. And it's whatever, 25 with the 14-pound ball. I mean, if this was a fact, every professional bowler would be using at least, they'd have to go with at least, a 12? They'd have to take advantage of those 50 extra pin power. 50 extra pins you can bang. 50 extra joules of energy. So it's obviously can't be the truth. It's obviously there's a flaw somewhere in the cause not creating the effect. The prediction isn't the greatest prediction in the history of mankind. All right? Unlike their statements that they have the greatest math and the greatest formulas and they predict things to the millionth of a decimal place and all of this hyperbole, all of this excessive rhetoric about how perfect it is, and there's absolutely no physical evidence in this universe that any of this crap is true. And none of you will even say, yes, you've given me some reason to doubt. Yes, so this video, he posts this video as if it's evidence of something, and it's evidence of exactly the same problem. No one has a stick of evidence. So he's going to say physics says, but he's not able to say the evidence proves. He won't say that because there is absolutely zero evidence that physics should say this. Physics shouldn't say it because it's wrong and it's stupid and it's ignorant and and again, I've already been over, the history is terrible. This is the worst kind of science. This is a fake dinosaur bone. It really is. And they have put it in the museum and they have it in a glass case and they have $1 million alarm systems to preserve this piece of crap. And you can't admit, yes, Gary, you've given me some reason to doubt. Amazing.
Let me ask you a question. What bowling ball weight will give you the hardest hit on the pins?
Yeah, it's kind of a gaboni. Yeah. Anyway. So, obviously, if you understood momentum, you'd say it really doesn't matter because I can throw the lighter ball harder. So it just really has to do with the fact of how hard I want to throw something. How much work do I want to put in?
So, Timmy, what do you think hits harder, a 14-pound ball?
Looks just like a Timmy.
Or a 16-pound ball?
16.
Okay, I'd like to ask you, Steve, what do you think hits harder?
So there's no point in saying hits harder. Because the fact is, the lighter ball going faster will hit the first couple of pins harder. It will exchange a lot of its momentum in terms of it's able to increase the velocity of the pins. But it doesn't hit as many. It doesn't give as many pins velocity. The 16-pound ball going slower will give less velocity to the pins it hits, but it will give that high velocity to a lot more pins. So where the light ball might only give 50 miles an hour to 3 pins, the heavy ball will give 30 miles an hour to 17 pins. So you have a lot more action in the sense of you'll give each pin you hit proportionally. The average will always be the same. But the point is the slower ball, the heavier ball, will impose momentum, high momentum, on a lot higher number of pins. It just won't do it it won't hit one pin really hard as the lighter ball is capable of doing.
14.
But that's the real physics. The real physics is all about the momentum. Real physics says, yes, it's just about velocity and mass. Just as Newton said, just as Descartes said, two really good scientists. Both religious nuts, but they didn't inject their religion into their science.
Pound ball or a 16-pound ball?
Where Leibniz, the inventor of this nonsense, overtly shoved his metaphysics, they called it, his religion, into his physics. He wanted the physics to match his religion.
Oh, that would be a 16-pound ball. That's a man weight.
Most people.
You should have just put some sort of sign over this guy. Loser. It's a man's weight.
People think 16 pounds is the ultimate answer. After all, 16 pounds is the heaviest regulation weight. So obvious.
Right, and that's only the heaviest regulation weight, because if you used heavier balls, you break the frickin' alley. Okay, the ball actually drops on the alley in a lot of cases, and you just keep, you pop all the boards to pieces eventually.
They hit the hardest, right? Maybe.
It would be really cool to test, with a 50-pound bowling ball and see if it doesn't knock any pins over because it has so little energy. Yeah. I mean, it'd be fun to do both extremes, right? The 5-pound, the 2-pound, the 1-pound bowling ball, and see if it knocks over 400 times, 400 pins, 4 times as many, 8 times as many pins. Because I think we all know the answer. No, it really won't do that.
Or maybe not.
I mean, go bowling in Canada, right? They have a little ball there, right? And you have to take 3 shots, okay? You automatically get 3 turns because you can't knock all the pins. Getting a strike is almost impossible, a one throw strike.
We're going to look at some of the physics behind bowling and let you decide for yourself if 16 pounds is king of the lanes. Coming up.
So again, he's going to say this is the physics. So Piro says these two things are compatible, yet it's quite obvious that momentum physics, Newton's physics, would tell one story to you. Okay, it would tell you, mass and velocity are equally important. So it's all about getting that combined coefficient the highest. So if you can throw the lighter ball much faster than the proportional difference between the weights, or vice versa, if it's easier for you to push a heavy ball, put a little more energy into it, then that's all that's really going to matter. Because you want to have the most combined, the most mass at the highest velocity. You want to get the total number of those two components as high as possible.
On the art of bowling.
And that's what Newton would say. Newton wouldn't bother with all this silly nonsense about let's square the velocity and have the mass. No, he wouldn't say that was rational.
Hi,
So this guy spends his life doing bowling, and he's been so fooled by this physics that he thinks there's a reason to break all of his intuitional knowledge. That is, all of his knowledge that every professional bowler in the last 100 years has always used the heaviest ball possible. Yeah, mostly because of its management. It's easier to manage. But the slower means less errors. Okay, the heavier you can make your pendulum, the less wobble it can have. Little irregularities get knocked out of it. So any little irregularity, your hand wobbles a little, all of that goes away if you use the heavier ball. So that's the reason why they're using it. And they're not going to the lighter ball, even though it has this huge energy advantage, even though it knocks over a quarter more pins or half more pins or 3/4 more pins. And they haven't done it. They haven't taken advantage of that. And that should just say, all of you logically, you all should be able to say, well, that just doesn't make any sense. There's no way to put that end result, the effect, nobody's using the lighter ball, with the cause. There's no way to combine the two and say, well, they say it should be twice as many pins you knock down. Why wouldn't they take advantage of that? It's a huge advantage. I mean, 100 versus 200. Huge advantage.
USBC Silver Circle.
I mean, halfway down the track. It's a horse race, and one horse goes halfway down the track. Right? You have to go around the track once. And the other horse is starting from halfway down the track. It's a gigantic advantage. It's gigantic. So you're telling me nobody took advantage of that gigantic advantage?
Fight coach Arthur O'Connor. Here at the Art of Bowling channel, we discuss.
And let's understand, it's not that hard to learn how to throw something light accurately. Obviously, when you go to tennis, and where they're using a racket, but I'm just saying they're controlling huge amounts of leverage perfectly. Light things can be controlled. Baseball players throw pitches, they're pretty accurate, blah, 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 blah.
Tips, tricks, and techniques to help you bowl your best. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and hit the...
So he's like giving people medicine based on this terrible physics, right? So if this was medicine, if this was a doctor, and this was a healthcare professionals have told him, the healthcare professionals told me you do this if you have an infection. And he's giving people advice on how to make their life better, to be healthier. This is how you be healthier. Obey physics. So he's giving this horrible advice to people. He's telling them this stupid thing, and they'll go out and say, well, I better try to learn how to use the lighter ball because it's supposed to give me twice this huge advantage. So they'll waste their time trying to figure out how to make a lighter ball to get this extra advantage, and they'll never get the advantage because the advantage doesn't exist. But again, if this was healthcare, then you might take this seriously, right? All of this wrong advice from the professionals.
Bell icon so you do not miss another episode. So how can 16...
It's just basically a doctor telling you drink pus. Yes, drink botulism. Drink toxic virus. It's good for you.
Pounds not be the hardest hitting ball in the alley. Can a 14 or a 15 pound ball really hit the pins harder than a 16 pound ball?
It will hit the first couple of, again, velocity matters. When you hit something, you're going to give it your maximum velocity. So when one thing bangs into another, it's going to give it the most velocity it can. See, it can't make a lighter thing go off higher velocity. It can only make it go as fast as it's going. So when the ball hits, it can only make the pin go as fast as it's going. So the faster the ball's going, the faster the pin will leave. But again, the point is you don't want just one pin to go away fast. You want a lot of pins to go away fast. The heavier ball will plow through and give a lot of velocity to a lot of pins. The lighter ball gives a lot of velocity to the first pin and the second pin, but not so much to the third, fourth, or fifth pin.
Before you dismiss this notion as mere poppycock, let's...
Yes, poppycock based on the fact that no professional bowler ever was able to take advantage of this huge advantage. This huge head start somehow has no value to people who are trying to take advantage of it. People try to take advantage of it and they can't find the advantage. It doesn't realize itself. The prediction that you will knock down more pins is not true.
Analyze
the prediction that there's more energy in the lighter thrown ball is not true.
This issue. In Ron Hatfield's book, Bowling Beyond the Basics, he states that a 14-pound ball will in fact hit harder than a 15-pound ball.
But it will not be based on anything called real physics, that is, the physics that's reliable and proven by evidence and experiments. The physics that is completely pie in the sky, never proven with a single experiment in the history of mankind, not a single experiment that can't be understood to be flawed, that is using clay to measure how much energy something has, using experiments that aren't clinically accurate. That's all it's got on its side. Bad experiments. It's just Ken Wheeler ferrocell bullshit. And it's in the core of conventional physics. Right in the core of conventional physics, they have a little Ken Wheeler yelling, "It's bending the light with magnetism! The light is being bent!" And you're all okay with that. I'm sad for you, and I'm sad for the human race that you people are this belligerently stupid.
How can he prove that statement with physics?
Yes, he didn't prove it with physics. That is, he didn't prove it with an experiment. He didn't prove it by videotaping pins and how much they move. He didn't prove it with any kind of science. So yes, he proved it with physics, and physics isn't science. So he didn't prove it with science, because physics is full of crap. Pseudo-religious theology.
Kinetic energy is the amount of energy that an object has due to its motion.
Yes, a complete horseshit description for which there's no experimental evidence demonstrating it. And as Stephen Bro, the little weasel, in his own video demonstrated without saying it overtly, okay, you do the experiment and guess what? It'll be proven that there's no extra energy. Do the experiment right, and that's what the facts will demonstrate.
The more kinetic energy in your bowling ball as it meets the pins, the harder it hits.
And so again, no, it's just about velocity and weight. And they're equal partners. Reduce one, you reduce your energy. Reduce the other, you reduce your energy. Equally. Equal effect. What the hell is that hair thing? Oh, God. The world just hurts me. It just hurts to see the world.
Do you know the formula for kinetic energy?
Yeah. 1/2 mass times velocity squared.
Yeah, it's really good that he knew it, but doesn't know how to, like, have cool hair. Yeah. Wear a hat or something. Do something. I don't even know what to say. I mean, that just looks too silly.
Formula for calculating kinetic energy in an object in motion is 1/2 of its mass multiplied by its squared velocity.
Well, that's one way of drawing it. It's really just 1/2 m, VMV, or MVV. Yeah, for no rational reason. Again, all of this doubling, squaring is all based on the fact that when stuff falls in gravity, that it falls, a certain amount in a second, and then if you allow it to keep falling, you can just multiply the seconds. But why would that make you think you're squaring anything? You're just taking, the number of seconds and you're multiplying that by the amount it's moving. But it doesn't give you any right to say that's how velocity works, that it just keeps doing that. Velocity doesn't do that. The only moment where that's relevant is while you're accelerating. It's not relevant once you have velocity. But anyway, I mean, it's I'm sorry, but it's just absolutely unreasonable rubbish. Again, no evidence that mass isn't just as important as velocity. Just as important.
And the answer is measured in a unit called joules. What does that mean?
So again, no, it's just measured in a unit. Okay, that's all you need because it's mass times velocity. So all the units are already there. It's meters, okay, moving a distance in a unit of time. So all the units are there. Whether you call it a joule or a watt or a fragger, it doesn't matter.
For us bowlers, Let's look at this formula laid out for 3 different ball weights, 14, 15, and 16.
So why don't you just go all the way down? Why don't you go to 8 and then go to 4 and then go to 2 and tell you physics tells you that the 2-pound ball will actually knock over 600 pins. So you only get 100 pins with the 16, you get 125 with the 15, you get 150 with the 14, you get 600 with the damn 4.
Pounds, assuming speed
Physics says.
or velocity stays the same. Let's say we throw the ball at 16 miles.
I mean, literally, they're arguing that if I throw a baseball 90 miles or 70 miles an hour at the pins, I will knock down a whole lot more pins. I mean, hundreds of pins. That's the literal consequence of this crap. Do you really think that would work? If that actually worked, don't you think they would just have baseball players throw balls at, at bowling pins?
Miles per hour. You can clearly see that the amount of kinetic energy increases for each pound added to the bowling ball.
So wow, the numbers jumped away pretty quick. They don't look 100% accurate, frankly. Okay, so that's 4 plus 8 is 12. Yeah, so that's the number. 12 for each increment. So I don't know, 92 minus 12 would be 80. Yeah, that's 79. Okay. So it's 12. 12, 12, 12, 12. So every time you go a lower number, you get 12 back. 12, 12, 12.
Added to the bowling ball. So the heaviest ball is king, right?
So again, if he went with the 10-pound ball, huge advantage, 50% more pins. So he says, poppycock to the heaviest ball. Yeah, the heavier ball doesn't have an advantage over the lighter ones. Their idiotic argument is the lighter ones have an advantage over the heavier one. And there's no evidence that it does, because the facts are that the heavier one still won everybody's approval, so to speak. All the professionals use it, even though it doesn't provide any advantage over any other weight, other than the advantage of it being heavier. Therefore, like I said, it takes some of your nervousness out of your swing. It makes your swing a little less subject to erratic movements.
Poppycock. If we bring momentum into the equation, momentum being defined as the quantity of motion of the moving bowling ball measured as its mass times its speed, it takes 48.5 kilometers per second of motion to throw a 15-pound ball 16 miles an hour.
So this part you really don't need, because obviously the argument is whether you're throwing a 14 or 15 or a 16, you're trying to throw them kind of as hard as you can. Without being insanely sloppy. So you're trying to have as controlled and as fast a motion as possible. So we are assuming that the 14-pound ball you throw with the proportional amount of extra energy based on the velocity, based on the fact that it's lighter, you throw it a little faster. So, but that might not be physically true for people in their own experience. Might be just easier for some people to put more energy into a 14-pound ball than a 16-pound ball, just because of their own physical mechanics.
If we throw a 14-pound ball with that same momentum, it will travel at 17.1 miles per hour.
Right, so the speed difference is the part I was talking about. When it hits the pin, it's going to give 17 miles an hour to the pin. So the faster you can get the ball to go, the more momentum it puts into each pin it hits. So the light ball going fast, the whole point is that it runs out of energy very quickly because it gives it away very quickly. Where the slow ball maintains a lot of energy because it can only give away the 15 miles an hour each time. But it'll give 15 miles an hour to pins.
A 16-pound ball will travel at 14.95 miles per hour. Essentially what we are seeing is a difference in speed, and if we plug that speed into the kinetic energy equation for each weight.
So they're just doing the same equation, just using the speed and calling that momentum, but it has nothing to do with momentum. So he's ignoring the momentum formula and just doing the same calculation two different ways. So it doesn't mean anything.
we can see that it's actually the 14-pound bowling ball that produces the most joules or kinetic energy.
So we're just doing the same thing again, where it's just this 12 difference, and there's just nothing terribly exciting about that. If if you go from 8 is the half, so 8 to 16, there's if you cut that into what percentage of 100 that is, it would be 12. The increments would be 12. So you're just adding 12 pins for each. 12 more pins. So if 16 was 100 pins you knock over, 15 is 112. 14 is 124. 13 is 136. That's all you do.
The reverse of what one would assume.
No, it's the reverse of what every professional bowler experiences in reality. That he gains absolutely nothing by going to a lighter ball. He doesn't realize those 12 extra pins, the physics says. Now, science says there are no 12 extra pins. Newton says, Descartes says, good science says there are no extra pins knocked down. And again, so this is just over a fantasy, an unproven, unscientific, pseudoscientific, bizarre statement made by physics that it never substantiated with any good evidence. And you people are harassing me, insulting me for pointing something that obvious out. So I'm giving you obvious evidence the formula doesn't work, and you're still defending it even though you can't provide a single shred, not one experiment ever collecting those 12 extra pins or those 24 extra pins. You have one single physics experiment demonstrating the collection of your prediction, and yet you're insulting me. Can you see how you have fucked up doing being alive and thinking and being smart on human, a smart human? Can't you see how you've just totally fucked up your obligation here to be, to call yourself intelligent if you can't concede that's a problem? That I really shouldn't be doing that until I actually have a piece of real evidence? God damn.
Their ball will hit harder, as proven with mathematics, because of speed.
There we go. So it's proven by no experiment. They say so. So we might as well just say, physicists told me. I should believe them, right? Because they're like professionals and doctors and stuff. They wouldn't tell me to drink, botulism. They wouldn't say that's a good therapy, right? The law would tell them they couldn't do that, right? They couldn't tell me, hey, dude, you stick your head in a blender. It's good therapy. They couldn't do things like that, could they? They're professionals, right? They get paid a lot of money, right? We spend billions of dollars on their toys, right? How the fuck could we say, hey, they don't have to tell us the truth? Yeah, those NASA people have been telling us they don't use anything but Newton physics, but no one takes that seriously. And NASA clearly probably knows that the kinetic energy formula is a pile of shit, just like NASA knows they can't repeat the Eddington experiment because it doesn't work. I'm sure they know this shit. So yeah, these physicists aren't very professional, are they? They're just lying scum.
If your mind was blown away by that, smash that like button. If the thought of throwing a ball lighter than 16 pounds is killing your momentum, leave a comment below and let's continue this discussion.
It's just amazing. So there's no, unfortunately, the commenters are all so fucking stupid. They don't even know that there's hey, is there a good reason to question this horse shit? So they don't even know that they should be saying, gee, that doesn't make any sense. So they just say, thanks for the advice. I've been throwing balls with blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I'm going to do that tomorrow. See, so a bunch of people are going to waste their time trying to make lighter balls produce more kinetic energy. And guess what? They're going to fail to do it over and over again because it doesn't fucking work.
I really recommend reading Bowling Beyond the Basics.
I recommend reading Newton, okay, and then read Leibniz's critique of Newton, and you'll see that he's just a religious kook. Okay, and then read the experimental evidence that started this whole thing, and read the part where it started off with not 1/2 mv squared. For 100 years, it was mv squared. So it wasn't just that you had an advantage with the 8-pound ball of 200. No, you got 400 pins knocked down with the 8-pound ball. Oh, I mean, this is just so bad.
It is written by people far smarter than me.
Well, that's unfortunate. They're not better than you. That's the unfortunate fact. Because I would say you're just trying to be an honest Joe, and they've deceived you horribly.
I'm using their examples, but I've always had...
Yes, too bad you're not following their proven evidence. So you should have asked the book to give you some evidence. Because then you would have found out, oh, you mean you have absolutely no evidence for your prediction? Oh, you have no experimental evidence verifying your prediction? Oh, well, maybe I won't take it too seriously then, huh?
Had this thought. Now I know what some of you are asking, maybe even yelling right now. What about...
Yeah, I wish they were yelling the right thing, which is, oh, you've got to be kidding. Physics is so full of itself. I mean, how the fuck did it have for 400 years it's believed in a fairy? I mean, this is the fairy godmother energy. I mean, this is complete bullshit energy. It doesn't exist in the real world. It has no credibility at all. I wish that science has no credibility. There are no experiments demonstrating it. None done by smarter trolls than whatever, Stephen Dumbass Bro.
Deflection. Surely a lighter ball must deflect much more than a heavier ball.
So again, deflection is just where it's running out of momentum. So the deflection is in the fact that the lighter ball, it gives away more momentum sooner. So now when it starts hitting pins, it has less and less momentum and now can't resist their force imposed on the ball. So the opposite force ends up moving the ball. So yes, it has a lot less penetrating power when it comes to hitting pins. Now it might go further in clay, but it's not going to go further in pins.
Right? Poppycock.
Yeah, that was funny.
We'll explain this on a future episode of Art of Bowling.
Yes, well you just you like I said, you're a very bad therapist because you didn't, when you went to the Wikipedia pages, you went going looking for advice to give your little holistic medicine thing you're doing. I'm going to holistically tell you how to be a bowler. You went to the wrong physicians to get advice, and you're really not going to make people better. You're going to make them sick. You're going to make their bowling sick with this fake physics.
That's all for this week. Be sure to leave a comment below telling us what you think of today's topic. Thanks for watching and see you on the lanes. Poppycock.
Yeah, it's too bad you don't really think of that word and then say, maybe that horseshit they told me about this whole squaring the velocity thing is poppycock, because when I throw an 8-pound ball, I don't see twice as many pins falling down.
Hi, I'm USBC Silver Certified Coach Arthur O'Connor.
He's a certified coach. And so he doesn't have enough life experience to know that that formula really can't be true. Because if I went to a 4-pound ball, I'm going to hopelessly fail to knock down more pins. All right, so anyway. Look at that, they drill. He drills on the yard. Practice bowling. Yes, practice makes the perfect and such. Yeah, I've been bowling in 45 years. Yeah, would be interesting. Good old days when I was a regular citizen. Did regular citizen things. Not anymore. All right, so maybe I'll take a break and then play the end of Stephen Bro's video again, where he does the experiment I suggested, and the one I suggested came out to be exactly as I predicted. And instead of saying those honest words in his video, he had to do all of that antics. Just so pitiful. All right, and mischaracterized the entire video as if he proved decisively that I was incorrect when he didn't do that at all. You know, that's just so dishonest. Oof. And it's so dishonest for the asshole to link to this video as if there was a single shred of evidence demonstrating that any of that crap about more energy was true. Not a single shred of real evidence. Not a video of the bowling ball hitting the pins and making more pin action. Nothing. Zero evidence. Zero real evidence. Okay. So I'll be back shortly and such. Alright, so I'm back. Alright, so this is the portion of the video where he actually plays this experiment. So he brings it up here and here and here and here. He's talking, but he's not showing it. And he's labeled it Gary's cheat when the experiment is really simple. You shoot the object with a spring and then you collect it with a spring. Alright, and the simple theory is that, yes, same energy out, same energy in. And it doesn't matter what size weight you put on the spring, you'll get the same actual momentum because the same force is conveyed its momentum to the object, and its momentum is going to compress the spring a certain amount, and that's all it has, and it really doesn't matter. You can't make more force by shooting lighter objects. It's all the same force. You can't make more force. It's just that obvious, right? I mean, you can understand you can't make more force by throwing an 8-pound ball. It doesn't make any sense logically. How can I make it have more energy? I only have so much energy to use to push. I can push fast, I can push slow, but I only have so much capacity to push. And it can't have more pushing power merely because it's lighter. It's a ludicrous prediction. It just can't be true.
His experiments, and he's keeping quiet about it.
Okay, so I'm keeping quiet about something. It's just the experiment couldn't be much simpler, right? I mean, this is so simple that, you know, what conspiracy could there possibly exist? You shoot an object with a certain amount of force, okay, one that's consistent. It always gives you the same pop, 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 always the same. All right, and you catch it with another object that is consistent, the same spring, and you just catch the energy, catch. So this is any more complicated than baseball player throwing, catcher catching. No more complicated than that. And he's indicating some conspiracy. Where can the conspiracy be? Oh, that's right, it can't exist.
He's not letting you know this didn't work.
He's not letting you know Okay, he's not letting you know.
So you're fooled into thinking that...
So you're fooled by the experiment. There's something in the experiment that's fooling you. The springs are fooling you. They're joke springs. You know, they're really cigars and they're going to explode or something. What the fuck is he talking about?
He's coming at this fresh. Just because...
Great science video, Steve.
Just said, Gary, I wouldn't buy a raffle ticket from this.
So what? What does that have to do with anything? Like, again, I wouldn't touch your front doorknob. I wouldn't want to make me 25 feet, you know, of your house or barn or whatever it is, stall.
Maybe I ought to figure out what I'm talking about before I talk about it.
Yeah, you can do that to anybody, you know. You can pull a quote out where they're imitating somebody else or they're talking about somebody else and they go, hey, I wouldn't buy blah, blah, blah. You know, and so you can do that to anybody. You can Photoshop. Yeah, those are really great arguments. All the great scientists in history, they use those arguments all the time. You know, your hairstyle looks like pubic hair on an anus. So, as you could see, same distance. You know, this one went and then came back a little. This one's still going, but it was the same on the ruler. Let's do it again. Where's the ruler? Put the ruler back in. Alright, there's the ruler. Okay, here we go. So just watch this. All right, right at that little 3, right at that mark. That's where it was, right at that mark there. The red one, the light one. The light one again. Now the white one. All right, right at the 3 mark again. Blah, blah, blah. So, completely verifying exactly what I said would happen. It verifies that the momentum is exactly the same, that the energy is exactly the same. They push the spring the equal amount. So even though one's going twice as fast as the other, they have the same potential to do work. The work they will do will always come out of their momentum. Momentum's the only thing that can do work. There is no other source of energy except the movement of material objects. And there is no special circumstance where as you increase the velocity, okay, and decrease the mass, that you're somehow going to make more energy. You can't do it that way. You have to earn it. Alright, do it again. Ooh, that one didn't go as far, so that one went below this line. Part of that problem is how he sets it up. Obviously, this was a really poor instrument to use because it bounces, it does different things that probably changed the results a little bit. So he should have done averages. He should have actually read the numbers. He should have actually did it 10 times and got a good average for each one of these things. If he cared to do it in any kind of responsibly scientific way, that's what he would have done. But he didn't give a shit, right? Because the scientific method and the idea of doing experiments carefully and repeatedly just doesn't mean anything to these people. They're just propagandists. They just want to prove their religion. They're really not interested in the truth and getting it and finding it and proving it. So there you go. It went a little further than the red one. Okay, so not proves anything, okay? Doesn't prove the heavier object has more energy. But yes, it did go further than the red one. Alright, so the bottom of this metal thing did go right to that line. And this one went a little further, actually. So again, it went again. The white one won again. So he didn't even, he's proving that more mass is even better, more energy. More mass, more energy. He's proven it, right? Because it did go a little further. Now, but the point is that how can you trolls defend this when clearly the best experiment he did, the one that is the most clinically precise, the one where we actually see the spring, the mechanism he's using to impose the force, which is semi-consistent because it's just a compressed spring and lock, compressed lock, always locked at the same position. The experiment that's clinically the best absolutely proves exactly what I said and exactly what I predicted. And you're applauding this video as debunking me, as proving me wrong. Can you just see how duplicitous you are as human beings? Just how you really don't care about the truth, and you won't just say that to people, so you keep implying that you're on the side of right and the side of good, when you're clearly on the side of distortion, propaganda, and lies. I mean, you're horrible people. Horrible. If we had a decent society, you would be shoved into a corner for this. You would pay a price for this. You'd be fined. You'd get a liar fine. So a little right almost to the line. Clearly past the almost up here. So a 10% more. So thank you for watching a completely distortive, manipulative, perverted, sick, depraved pile of shit as an argument. I mean, just the worst possible kind of canard. A gigantic distortion and perversion of reality. A claim that he has now proven me wrong when overtly the best experiment he did proved me right. Can you assholes who are going to post these stupid videos, you post your link fall well, like, oh, here's some more verification that he's wrong. Can you understand that you verified nothing? You proved nothing? Oh, God damn it. I really just should give up, right? I just don't know if the human race really is, what is the percentage of human beings that have any intelligence and integrity? I mean, are those two things just completely disconnected? Like, there's some poor, ignorant people that have a huge amount of integrity. They just love being a man. They love being right. They love doing the right thing. But they're idiots, so they can't understand any of these arguments. And is it like, is there a ratio? Like 1/2 integrity, okay, times stupidity squared? I mean, what's the ratio of these ingredients that I can expect to get out of the human race? How much, when I multiply the integrity times the intelligence, what kind of number am I going to get? Is it going to end up being always going to be 0 because they actually have 0 integrity? Like 90% of the intelligent people have 0 integrity. So it always ends up being a 0 number. I have no hope of reasoning with them because their integrity value is so fucking low. Their honesty, baldy cats, AB science, all you people are dishonest, lousy, weasel, scummy pieces of shit, for fuck's sake. You have so little integrity. Oh, it's disgusting. Anyway, deep breath. And I'll move on. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I am pleading now, right? I'm not just reasoning with you. I'm just pleading with you. Give me some reason to believe humans aren't all scum. I mean, I'm not only smarter than all of you people, I have fucking 1 billion times more integrity than any of you people. Oh. Shit. Anyway. Endeavor to persevere, Gary. All right. So this has been a DraftScience video presentation, and I will endeavor to persevere.